everybody, can you hear my voice?
Yes, a little loud, Sam.
Ah, tough shit, you got no choice. So grab a glass and sit back in your chair, 'cause Uncorked is going live to air.
Well, here we are then, Uncorked Whisky Sessions in a totally new way.
Yeah, this is a very new environment, Sam, isn't it? I mean, it's okay playing the silly games on Instagram every lunchtime and doing my silly breakfast chat, but having to, as technophobes as we are with bloody computers and hearing aids and Bluetooth, it's been a bit of a nightmare. But here we are, we're getting together, and this is going to be Uncorked, the isolation files.
That's right. Yeah. We've never been afraid of a challenge, though. I'm conscious both of us stop moving so much, because you did just say before we started recording, there's a lot of shit in front of you on the desk. So please be careful.
I've got people walking around outside as well. I'm going to have to throw them out. Yeah, I'm going to have to throw them downstairs, I think. 1 minute.
Don't worry. That's the condition. That's what's happening. Don't worry about it. I got 3 kids running around. I can hear their feet. One's going to cry soon when she wakes up from her nap halfway through this episode. But what are we doing this episode then? What's the plan?
Well, what we're going to do, well, as you know, everybody's on lockdown. We're going to be talking about bringing whiskey home, how people are getting around this lockdown, and off licenses and whiskey shops are able to open, but most of them are on a sort of mail order delivery method of getting liquids out. So that's what we're going to talk about. We've got a few guests to come on the program today, people who are doing things slightly differently, who've had to adapt, and hopefully they'll be online and be able to get through this technology as well.
Well, we've all been forced to adapt in this weird new situation. And to be honest, I've been fortunate enough to find some blessings in this weird curse. Before we get the guests on, how's this been for you, Dave?
Well, to be honest,
what I mean is you're a brand ambassador. You travel the UK and the world representing Boutique, and you're landlocked, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very odd. I'm not used to having weekends at home, and having weekends at home, all of a sudden there's a list of chores to do, isn't there? I'm not a big fan of gardening. I like sitting in a garden and sitting and drinking and eating in a garden, but having to keep it in track. So whenever I got a weekend at home while I was brand ambassadoring, it was run out, hate, mow everything, chop everything down, throw it in a green bag and get it in the bin. And that was it, then back out on the road again. But now it's a little bit more leisurely.
Yeah, I can relate to that, I suppose. Then you plan, it takes so much more planning. And there's something in that planning that got me thinking about whiskey, because whiskey is still a thing. People are still buying it. I see online, everyone's hosting little online tastings. People, I know Master of Malt still sending products out, and most of, like you said, deliveries are still happening. But there's something in that is so whiskey. I was thinking a few nights ago when I was probably having a few drams, but just thinking that slowed down pace, that measured planning, that on Wednesday we're going to do malting, on Friday we're going to do fermentation, like that we've all had to take stock of our lives in a new way.
We have, but I don't think anyone's actually planning what day it is. I mean, a lot of people are furloughed, a new word that I've learnt, furloughed. And so seriously, I have no idea what day it is sometimes. Like, the other day we were talking, I did the Australian class tasting in the morning. I mean, I don't know about these Australians. They're bloody mad having tastings at 9:30 in the morning. I finished that, and then we had our lunchtime session, and then I thought, and we had another meeting after that, I think, didn't we? An online meeting. I thought, it's 5 o'clock. I'm going to go down and listen to Jenny. Oh, no, it's Tuesday. I had no idea. I just completely. And I think last Thursday, after we were talking, I think I was sitting at the desk up here still at 6 o'clock and thinking, Friday, I've got to go and make an old-fashioned. And I ran downstairs, and it's Thursday, not Friday. So I had double old-fashioned. So, I had one on Thursday and one on Friday. It's just little routines that we have.
Yeah. Well, there is something. The world is being brought together. The whiskey world is being brought together. If you heard that big bang a moment ago, that was one of our guests dialing in, but he's dropped off. We'll have him back in a sec. But the whiskey world, well, I'm sure it's happening in every bit of the world, sort of coming together. Communities are being rehashed and lines being redrawn. I see tastings online. We're doing stuff online. Really, everyone is. So that's what we wanted to talk about today. We thought it's topical, timely to have do an Uncorked looking at this. So the two guests we're going to have on can speak to what it's been like to operate in the on-trade. Hospitality, we know, certainly in the UK, but probably around the world, has suffered massively. No one's going out. Bars aren't open. I don't know, Dave, do you eat out often? I guess you probably hit bars and visit accounts.
I do occasionally over here, yeah. Certainly in London, I'm around bars and that. But yeah, eating out is something I generally do most weekends. Always, I drop my daughter off at work on a Saturday and a Sunday morning, and generally go out for breakfast afterwards because I'm in town.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So all that business, those £7 to £10 that you were spending, that's gone. Time thousands that go through, and it's tragic to see. And I have a lot of friends in that industry. I'm sure we all do. Who are being forced to find new economies. And who knows what the world's going to look like on the other end of this crisis, if I can call it that. But it's definitely going to be more rubber gloves, more latex gloves, more home delivery, and more careful consumption. We're going to have to invent new ways. So we have some guests on. We'll probably split this episode into two. We'll have some guests on talking specifically about that. Oh, bam, there's a loud bam. And there's Dan. Hi, Dan.
Hi, sorry for the bam.
So our first guest has just bounced onto my screen. This is Dan Humphrey, and he is the founder of the Summerton Whisky Club, a well-regarded whiskey subscription package, is what he tells me. He also told me he's also described as the huggiest man in whiskey, and I thought that was a title I had, to be honest. So I think he's stolen that one off of me. How are you, Dan? Welcome to the show.
I'm grand. I'm happy to share that title. It wasn't. It's a rumor. It didn't happen really. I don't remember it.
Have you met Sam before?
This is my first time. It's a pleasure to meet you, Sam.
And likewise, Dan. Yeah, thanks a lot for coming. I think in a few moments we'll have another guest. There might be a bing again, but maybe we'll just wait for him and we can introduce ourselves sort of all together so we don't have to do it twice.
Yes, that makes sense.
But you're quite locked down. Do you have eggs? Eggs have been a hard thing to find.
I got 2 chickens in the garden.
Oh, what a solution! I should have gone that route. But I hope you don't get avian flu.
Oh, don't put another thing in there. We got really lucky. We got 2 battery hens, like rehomed them about 2 weeks before it all went crazy.
My goodness.
So we'd been looking for a month or 2. It wasn't on purpose. It just couldn't have been timed better.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I wish I had fallen to the luck. And do they produce? How does that even work? It's not really an Uncorked Whiskey Sessions conversation talking about eggs, but let's go there.
They do. In the first couple of weeks, they needed a little bit of love and attention. They'd lost a lot of feathers and they looked a little bit browbeaten. But within a couple of weeks, one of them in particular, full of hair, or full of feathers, really, really happy. And the other one's catching up now. So we're getting daily eggs, which is great.
Hello.
Hey, Simo.
Hello.
You came in the middle of an egg conversation, and I'm sure anyone listening to this eventually will have heard a big bing as he came in, so apologize for your ears. Simo, thanks for joining us, bud.
No worries, mate. How are you?
We were just discussing, we're all adapting in our own ways, but I cannot complain. I feel very fortunate every day to have a roof and a family and eggs.
Yeah, it's fun. Adapting is fun.
Yes, and how are you doing? How are you on a personal level? Let's talk about whiskey in a bit. How are you on a personal level?
I mean, fine, to be honest. I mean, I've got the motorbike, so central London's pretty quiet for riding around, to be honest, and the sun's out.
Speaking of quiet, sorry, Simo, is there any way you could get a bit closer to a microphone?
Can you hear me now?
That's nicer. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Is that Dan? Can everyone hear him?
Yep.
Yeah, you can hear me?
That's a bit better. Thanks, bud. Yeah, continue.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
mean, I've got a motorbike, so London's pretty quiet. I only live in Little Venice, and Soho's 10 minutes on a ride. But traveling down through Regent Street every day, at the speed limit, I must say, it's quite nice when you don't pass any traffic whatsoever. So to be honest, it's nice. I live near the canal. The weather's lovely. So can't complain really.
Well, good. I don't know if you met Dan before. Dan, that's Simo.
Yeah, we've bumped
Dan,
into
you
each
all
other a
right,
few
mate?
times. He has a fantastic place to go drinking, so you
can't
can't
hear
help but
Dan.
avoid it. Sorry, say again?
Dan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I could sort of, all I can hear is, no, I can hear you, Dave.
You can hear me?
Listeners
I'm
at
not
home, this is a very exciting part where a bunch of old people with beards talk about whether or not they can hear one another.
Dave, can you hear me? Daniel, I can sort of hear you, mate.
Hang on, yeah, I've got you.
What we'll do is Dave or I will be the middleman between conversations between Dan and Simo, if that's okay. We'll treat you very separately, lest the fight should break out. But I think, Dan, maybe let's start. I mean, Sim, I'll introduce you. Simo's not your birth name, not your Christian name. But everyone knows you as Simo, and Simo's been in whiskey for about a decade, but just as a lover of whiskey and his own Milroy's for the past 5. Is that right, Sim?
5 years. We relaunched 5 years ago, March, just gone.
Nice.
So for everyone who's maybe not from the UK, hasn't heard of Milroy's, Milroy's was one of the retail pioneers of whiskey and one of the first independent bottlers of a retailer, certainly in London. And it's a really rich history, but I think it's fair to admit, was in a decline, if that's...
Yeah, I mean, the Milroy's brothers who started this, these are the guys who brought single malt down from Scotland back in the 60s. These are the first guys that actually, we all know from our whiskey world that before the 60s all blends, and the Milroy's brothers pioneered the single malt revolution. So these guys brought it down in the 60s, sold out of this shop that I'm currently in at the moment. And then, they sold it in late 90s. I think rumor has it, one of the Milroy's brothers left his wife for a, I want to say, waitress on Greek Street. Got bought out by kind of big corporations, ended up owned by Jeroboam's, who turned it into a wine shop. Not that I'm against wine, but there's enough of them in London. So, I thought, bring it back to history. So I literally sold my restaurant, brought it back to life. And got a second site, which obviously 2/3 of the people on this call have been to.
Well, and you fell in love with whiskey. It turns out that you were wiser than either Dave or I. And Dan, we'll get to your story in a second. But you fell in love with whiskey at a young age compared to Dave. I mean, I only really discovered whiskey in my mid to late 20s. And you at the hands of an employee of Milroy's, you sort of caught the bug.
Yeah, I mean, I was, late teens, I was drinking whiskey. I realised from my, when I started drinking whiskey at 18, because I couldn't really drink beer. I had the stomach of a 100-year-old lady with IBS. Didn't really go down well, and so I just went on straight spirits in my late teens and sort of rum, and then found whiskey. Late teens, very early 20s, and been drinking it pretty much ever since.
Well, I hope you take responsible breaks.
I do.
Tons of questions about that because you're in an empty shop, a closed shop, and I'm sure there's a lot of questions to explore. Let's move over to Dan.
Hi.
So Dan, I met Dan. Quacky, where did I meet Dan? At a whiskey show, I think.
Probably, it might have been Harrow 2 or 3 years ago.
I might have been, yeah. You were asking me about how to start something that you were looking to do. You were looking for an online subscription service at the time, I seem to remember.
Yes.
I went on to found the Summerton Whisky Club.
Yeah, it started off with a searching for what we're doing now for my dad as a Christmas present. My history with whiskey isn't so illustrious. As a teenager, JD and Coke with friends, and then going to America and traveling around America and trying all different bourbons over there. Luckily, moving up and away from JD over time, but not too far away. And then I even remember the whiskey that brought me over to Scotch, and it was Three Monkeys. Took me over into Scotch, and then I never looked back. But for Dad, I wanted to find his Christmas present, something that delivered him a lovely bottle every month, something different, something you wouldn't find in a supermarket. And I couldn't find anyone who would do it. And I was kind of like, well, I like the idea. Why don't I do it? Because that's quite a lot of fun, actually. And then it grew out of that. Started off with just Dad, and then just Dad and a few friends, dads and uncles. And then I went, well, why don't I offer it to everyone? And tell you the truth, we weren't just whiskey at the very beginning. We did rum and brandy as well, because it was what Dad liked. But after about 8 or 9 months, everyone kept on saying, can I just have whiskey? can I just have whiskey, please? And I went, all right, I'll do a bi-monthly just whiskey option. And instantly everyone just shifted over to that. And all right, I get it. I am the Whisky Club now. And that's how we came about. And it's just been fantastic. We're now putting on festivals and tasting evenings. And it's just all about sharing nice whiskey that you wouldn't normally get yourself, especially wouldn't get in the supermarket.
I love a story like that where it starts so organically, just out of a not selfish, but a need really of your own. And as long as you don't get high on the supply, you can make it into a business.
Yeah, there is that slight problem sometimes, but there has to be.
Great, because all I can hear is you talking. I can't hear Dave or Daniel. All I hear is words going. I literally can't hear anything Daniel or Dave are saying.
I will try to fix that on mine. I really apologize, Sam. Thanks for that heads up.
No worries.
All right. So then you mentioned festivals. Now, obviously, that's might be a thing of the past. Certainly in the next few months.
Yeah, our one was meant to be on the 30th of May, so we've kind of taken the decision to flip it on its head and go virtual. Because I don't like the way that everything has just been cancelled and postponed. It's like, but we still got to have our whiskey fun. We might be at home. So I've come up with an idea where in the week before the festival, we ship everything you need to enjoy yourself to the homes of all the people there. So you can have that festival experience at home, taste all the whiskies with everyone. We're going to have cocktail masterclasses. So I've got to get some mixers in there as well and get some snacks. But I think having 6 months or however long it's going to be without any whiskey fun just isn't bearable, in my opinion. And no one else was offering something. So, yeah, I'll do it. And
Nice.
It's going to be fun.
Sorry to interrupt. Sim, I don't know if you could hear all that, but it's probably you can probably relate to this slightly. What Dan was saying is that having an event, a festival coming up at the end of May, Summerton Whisky Club, didn't want to cancel completely. Obviously, people aren't going to gather anymore, but he absolutely refused to close the doors and to not make it happen. We needed, in his words, he wanted to make sure we could still have our whiskey fun. You can probably relate with that. What steps have you taken after you had to shutter?
I mean, obviously, with this Corona shit going on, it's all about adapting and thriving, really. Like, Daniel was talking about. But, with us here, what we've done is we've essentially, I have a tasting room in the back in my Soho place. So we've turned it into a bottling hall now. So what we've done is we're essentially doing these drinks by the drams. So on the website now, you can literally buy, rolling 20 flights, essentially, from Speyside introduction to premium to some very rare stuff as well in there. I did a whole Pappy flight, which went out really well. And so it's kind of like getting whiskey to people at home. And so we do these little packs of flights. You get a little box, 35ml pours like you would buy on the bar. And then we literally just send them to your house. The idea is if you can't go to the bar, bring the bar to you. That's legit.
So it's Milroy's Drams, or what's it called?
Drams to your door.
And to your door. And I guess, you guys, people, like you said, this phenomenon might have existed before lockdown, but we can see it thriving now. We can see people having a thirst to still be involved, still connect. Dave, have you been doing anything online for Boutique?
Every day we've been doing.
No, I don't mean the stuff we've done together, you doofus.
I've got some. Everything's obviously kicking in. I did a tasting in Australia on Tuesday morning. I don't know why they have their tasting in the morning in Australia. Must be something to do with the time difference. Yes, talking of tastings.
Yeah, let's cheers.
To get a Capadonna kit, 22-year-old.
Oh, you bastard. You fruity, delicious bastard.
I've gone for Speyside, Glentock 17. I just love it.
I can't see. I can't hear any of you two. I can only hear you.
Dave's got Glentalkers with the label where there's someone saying, column stills will never work. We got a 22-year-old Capadonic, gorgeous.
Actually, the one you've got, Daniel, we've just launched 3 casks of our own one of that. So we've got a champagne cask, a cloudberry wine, and a PX from Macmira. We just launched.
Those are Macmira.
They're very good. I wish I learned sign language and me and you can just talk. It'd be great. That's really good.
Yeah, you picked really well. This one is Skogshallen. It's as far as I'm aware, the world's first raspberry wine cask finished whiskey. And it's got a nice, light, fruity feel. And as today seems to be the hottest day of the year,
yeah,
it's a good one to crack open.
Nice idea. And is that bottled at a higher strength too, Dan?
No, I think it's 44.4. So
Yeah,
a little bit.
It still has that gorgeous color. Wow.
It's you get those fruity notes from the raspberry wine, but without it taking over, which is quite nice on a day like today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a 3-year-old Macmira a little while ago. It was 3-year-old on the boutique label. I know there was some older stuff in there, but that was cloudberry wine casks.
Yeah, I love those ideas that they come up with. The randomness of the things. I don't even believe that cloudberry is a real thing, but it tastes
I'm married
amazing.
to a Norwegian. I can tell you it's real.
It is real.
All I get is the end of these jokes. All I heard is you two like no sound, and then you just go, "I'm married to a Norwegian." I can tell. So I'm like, cool.
Yeah. We should make a version of this downloadable where it's only what Simo heard, but just call it Uncorked what Simo heard. Just trip yourself out at midnight on a Friday. Sorry, continue, Dan. What were you saying? Sorry.
Oh no, it was
just unusual wines and flavors. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the way that they come up. Like the last one is a green tea finish. Who, how, where? That first conversation, when that happens, you've got to be sitting there going, yeah, why not? Why not? I've never heard that before, so let's do it.
Huge. Oh, sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
Not bound by the same sort of rules as the SWA are to do mad shit like that, really. And I guess, being an independent and New World distillers are able to do that sort of stuff, that they're able to play around and try different things because they're really satisfying their own market as well. They know their own market, what people eat and drink and reading. Why not that people will enjoy, and then let's try it out outside.
Yeah, I think you need that in there because you've got in Scotch, you've got like the ones at the top, the pinnacle of it. You need people to be innovating and trying other things around the edges to bring new ideas forward and a different experience. Otherwise, if everyone's just trying to copy what Scotch is, what's the point of everyone else? We might as well just say no one else is allowed to make whiskey, in my opinion.
Yeah, that is a really interesting perspective because if we limit, I mean, there is some benefit. I think we'd all agree. There is some benefit to being able to, we just lost Simo. Oh, boom, he's back.
Yeah.
Definitely.
See if it works. Dave, talk.
Hello there, Simo. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Dan.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We're on.
We're on. I just rebooted.
Right.
I was like, fuck this, I'm rebooting.
All right, take it from the top, boys. Let's start from the beginning. Hi, I'm Dr. Whiskey. This is Boutique. I'm just kidding. Dan, sorry, Simo. I don't know if you could hear Dan's point. Dan, you want to reiterate what you were saying, which I think there's a conversation there.
Yeah, I think it's nice. You need brands and distilleries in different countries to be trying different things because you've got Scotch that's the pinnacle that has its set of rules that works. But you need these other places to be innovating and trying different things out to show what might be possible. Otherwise, you just don't really need those countries anymore to be making it because Scotch does Scotch so well.
Yeah, no, that's why. I mean, I'm guessing you're talking about Macmira, but when we were lucky enough to go out there and just their little warehouse on site with I was like, what's that? Must be about 100, 200 casks in this small little warehouse, and it's all just different, like everything. Like the cloudberry wine apparently it's only grown in Sweden, isn't it? So we got a cask from there, and the champagne one. We went down to there, probably the greatest warehouse I've ever seen in my life. They took us on a Jeep, and you go down into an old mine. And when I say go down, you drive into this thing, and you're there going like, if it's like a Bond film, you're like, the fuck is this? And like, you go down, and literally, it's just every one of these like mines, like huge rooms, just full of casks. And I was like, this is probably the most insane thing I've ever. When it takes a good like 10, 15 minutes to drive into your warehouse, into a mine, like it was a great experience. I mean, if you guys have not been, I definitely recommend going. But yeah, like you said, like all these like, because Scotch does what it is, it's very old school rules, but having people like Macmira who have just gone, you know what, throw the rule book out the window and just do whatever really, and just see what we can get. Do small casks, why not? And they've got, they're hands down one of my favorite cask programs. It's all tiny, it's very accessible to people, and people can enjoy it, which is what the whole point is of whiskey,
Absolutely, yeah.
It's
So
like the
how-
Irish.
And sharing and enjoying. Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, when this lockdown came in, Simo, and you had to close your bars on the last Friday of the whatever it was back then, how quickly have you been able to adapt to the new things that you've been doing and getting whiskey? I mean, how quickly have you been able to turn that around? I saw you doing some online stuff, just like everybody at the moment. But I guess you've got a good loyal following within the shop that come to the shop and now can't. How quickly have you been able to turn that around for everybody?
I mean, it was quite very within a week for us because obviously, you know, with the cocktail bars, we already started working on. We already had bottled cocktails that we were looking to do, and so we just fast tracked that a little bit. And now this week we've got a load of bottled cocktails now. But with the tastings, it was a case of simply just, you know, getting videos recorded and that. And because the shop's empty, push out e-com because we all had a big e-com platform anyway. So the infrastructure and logistics are already there for us. All we had to do was literally order in miniature bottles. And so we got these like 50 ml like miniature flasks, like glass flasks, and that was it. So our turnaround was, we were pretty lucky because we're small enough that we can change things because it's just me going, right, let's do it, rather than going up for a scale of a company. But we're big enough, the fact that we already have this systems in place. So we were quite a nice sort of, you know, position for us to do this. It's quite nice. So we've been pretty lucky. We've sold out of, I had to order another 500 bottles. We did over 500 miniature flasks since this launched last Thursday in the space of about 5 days. You know, so it's, and all my staff on furloughs, I literally come in every day and do the e-com myself. So yeah.
Are you running down the bar stocks as well? And
yeah, because that's it. All we did was take all the stocks from the bars. Because obviously Spitalfields has over 1,000 whiskies in it. Soho I'm at now has got about 300 so on the bar. So we looked at like, okay, cool, what have we got full bottles of or close full bottles? And we just pulled those off, made some like 20 flights, and then just thought, fuck it. At the back, got a couple of optics, and just literally went, all I'm doing in the back now is going, yep, and just like building these flights. And to be honest, it's something we're going to carry on doing, you know? It's just, why not? It seems to be working, so just going to carry on doing it.
And you'll have the resource to do that because I guess now the advantage is you're sort of idle in a way. Yeah. So you're able to do this. Will you be able to continue that when the world comes back to normal, whatever that normal is going to look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what we're going to do is we're going to change our tasting room at the back. Because we're getting an office upstairs. We know this is how we work in our bars. So we're shifting the office upstairs. The back taste room is going to have about 100 whiskies all over the walls, all on like little optics. And we're literally just going to have like a bottling station in there. And in the evening, we'll do tastings, which is great because the whiskies are all on the wall anyway. And then, you know, and then we'll start doing the optics. So for us, it's easy. It requires very little investment. It's just only the bottles itself, you know, and that's all it is. Sure. So we will be carrying this on.
I think that's one of the great things about what's happening. Everyone's trying new things, and some of these things are working. So they're going to carry on in the future. And I love the innovation that's coming out. Some aren't moving very quickly, and unfortunately there will be some that struggle. But the ones that do move are going to be doing well now and carry on doing well going forward. And you guys are definitely one of them. It's always a pleasure to have a drink in one of your bars. So it's nice that you're sharing that to the outside world a bit more.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's, you know, our ethos is always simple. It's just, you know, we're whiskey about the bullshit. That's what we are. And it's all about our staff and our passion and our knowledge, and, you know, trying to share that with someone. Of course, when someone can't go to the bar, you know, we sat down, all my staff said, about how do we get this to the customer? And it was just kind of very simple. It's the simplest ideas that always work. But yeah, I mean, you know, our job as custodians of the industry is to get good whiskey to people. That's our job. So how do we do that in a time like this? And this is what we come with. That's all you got to do, is just go back to your core roots of whiskey. We love it. We love drinking it. Let's get it to people.
Have there been any regulations that you've had to navigate to get this through, or are you getting through on your current licenses, I guess? So you're selling?
Yeah, so we have, it's been very, I mean, a lot of these suppliers have said that we can do it. We've had to be very careful in what we're doing at the moment, obviously, because, you know, you're not allowed to rebottle Scotch outside Scotland and call it Scotch and whiskey. So, of course, what we've had to do is put a disclaimer in saying these are just spirit flights. We can name the whiskies on there, but there's no mention of the word whiskey or Scotch or anything like that on there, because you have to be very careful about that. Health and safety standards, we're, up and way above and beyond what we're doing in there. But once it comes around to say, after this all has ended and we want to increase this, then we've got to start, getting these. And it's only with Scotch. Rest of the world, believe it or not, American whiskey I can rebottle and it's fine. It's mostly Scotland. So what we'll do is we'll probably go piggyback off our bottlers up there. So all the Scotch ones will get pre-bottled and sent back down, and everyone else we can do here. So
clever.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how you're getting around it. You're not labeling, but your customer base obviously understands that.
Because they trust us. They're just buying things they've had on the bar already. So they trust us. They're okay with it. When you get the little flask, it's got a tied label around mentioning the whiskey and the ABV, but just the name. So it could be Capadonic 22 and the ABV, and that's it. And that's what we sell. But no mention of whiskey or Scotch or anything. It's it's grey, but in the times like today, we've talked to our suppliers and everyone's like, yeah, cool, go for it. And, we've had people like Douglas Lang who want to support us, Bacardi, Diageo, they're all like, yeah, cool, absolutely, do this, do more of this. Macallan, they've thrown us a few bottles, they want to get on there. So, yeah, we've been quite lucky. I think everyone's understanding at a time like this. After this all finishes, I may have to tick a few more boxes, but at the time, for now, it's people enjoying it.
So it's an exciting time, maybe a bit scary, I'm sure, for all of you, for many listeners as well. So let's keep it light and stupid. I thought it's a good time to play a game.
There we go. Yeah, yes, I have got a game prepared for you.
Do you?
Oh, I thought, am I doing this one?
Yeah.
Or you doing this one?
I thought we were doing this one, the one I'm presenting to you. Can you see it?
I can see it. Yeah, I can see it. I thought we were doing my one. I'm just going.
Why was that?
Got a bit of confusion now.
They put this in the document, so I assume this is for this. No, or is this for?
Hey Dave, whatever game you're creating is for part one. John has created the game for part two. That is in the last instructions on the Uncorked channel.
Well, in that case, Dave can read. Dave gets extra points. Dave, what's your game then, bud?
Okay, well, it is. Hopefully you weren't watching Instagram channels at lunchtime, because I've been reading just last night about worm tubs. Really, because I keep finding that a lot of worm tub whiskies I enjoy a great deal. And certainly when I'm at, and there's a worm tub bottling right there. And certainly when I'm at whiskey shows and I've got something that is a worm tub whiskey, like a Craigellachie, people quite often don't know what a worm tub is. And so fortunately our Craigellachie has a very, very loose.
Sounds like you're clearing your throat when you say that distillery name. I love that.
Sorry?
Sounds like you're clearing your throat when you say that distillery name. Say it again.
Craigellachie.
I've seen their worm tubs. They're standing on top of them. It's like a spa. You just stand there, all the steams come off you like. It's great.
I remember the first time I went up to Scotland and to go and visit distilleries, I was staying in Elgin because I was actually on a works trip, an engineering trip. It was an oily trip up at big oil rig show, engineering show up in Aberdeen, and we booked it really late. And the only place I could stay for this daily show in Aberdeen was in Elgin. And then I extended my trip, and I said to the receptionist, I'm going over to Speyside. I'm going to try and get over to Craigellachie. Yeah, nearly. It's Craigellachie. So, worm tub. You all know what a worm tub is, I'm sure.
Listeners at home, if you're only receiving this on audio, then a worm tub is a type of condenser. A traditional type of condenser was the top of the still would run into basically a bathtub of cool water where the vapor would turn back into a liquid, and we would then have spirit and or whiskey.
So there are, I think, 16 existing distilleries in Scotland that still use worm tubs today. Springbank, for example, only on the wash tub. Wash still. Craigellachie obviously is the one I mentioned because it's the one we show on our label. So I've got 10 distilleries that I'm going to be calling out or showing you the pictures. Or you can tell me if it's a worm tub or condenser. And to buzz in, I'd like you to walk out as your buzzer, as we already played the buzzer.
I'm going to choose a Flaming Heart 10th anniversary. Yeah, all right. Oh, yes, best cork.
You be careful with that Macmira cork because they're metal, I believe, aren't they?
Metal on the top, but synthetic underneath.
Yeah. Okay, so the first question, worm tub or condenser? Royal Lochnagar. Royal Lochnagar.
That is going to be a condenser.
Pull the cork, Simo.
Sorry, I thought I was smashing the cork.
No, that's how you buzz in. Sorry, no, you buzz in by pulling it. It's got to be audible. The radio program.
Do that next it.
There you go. Yeah. Simo.
I'm going to go condenser on that one.
Yes, Sam?
I'm going to go worm tub because it was the first distillery I ever visited, actually, when I moved to Edinburgh in 2002.
It is indeed a worm tub distillery. Okay, question number 2.
Hold on, Dan. Did you have that, Dan?
Oh, yeah, obviously. I knew that.
Yeah, right.
That's why I kept silent the whole way through it.
50-50 chance. I'm
getting in early on this one.
It's not important. It really isn't important. This is just nonsense. Absolute nonsense. It's normally a lot sillier. We could do something really silly, I guess. We could play a bit of my Australian game in the middle of it as well, if you want.
I'm up for anything. I'm great with games.
So,
Generally, but I'm in.
worm tub or condenser?
Who's it, Sue?
I'm going condenser.
Burst out. You're definitely right there, Dan. That's the spirit of getting in there. Just pull it and shout. No wrong. Okay, now question number 3. Worm tub or condenser? Tininic.
Oh, it's quick, Simo. That was quick.
Worm tub.
No. That's a terrible pop.
Condenser.
Oh,
yeah, you didn't get the pop. Sorry.
You're right.
Had it out first. It was just pot of luck.
Okay, question number 4. Worm tub or condenser? Cragganmore.
Oh, shit. I know that.
Well,
I'm going to go condenser. I'm going to go again then.
Worm tub indeed, yeah. You're frozen
That's
out.
a surprising one, isn't it? I mean, it's a Diageo, and maybe that's why you went condenser, Dan, because everyone thinks, oh, the Death Star Diageo. Diageo is one of the companies that saved a lot of the traditional processes in whiskey making. This is just one example.
I thought Tininic was that, yeah, but no. Okay, go.
Yeah, Tininic is the one with the mash filter. They took out the mash tun and put the mash filter in.
Yes.
They were the first distillery in the UK to put a mash or use a mash filter. Incherney were the ones who put one in recently, their new distillery. And you can find mash filters over in Ireland in Middleton Distillery and Jameson, and you can find it in the new Waterford Distillery. Okay, worm tub or condenser? It's Ben Romack.
I'm going to go in condenser.
It is indeed a condenser, yeah.
Yes.
They're condensers outside, so they're outside the still room, which gives you that heaviness. So there's 2 different atmospheres of a hot still room and a cooler condenser.
Oh.
Worm tub.
All day, Dave. A fucking bunch of nerds sitting around getting it wrong, getting it right. I love it. Yeah.
Yes, they do. It's just we're drinking whiskey and we're pulling corks out every time.
I'm having fun. Even if I get it wrong, this is great.
Of course it doesn't. It's not important.
It's a
Okay, let's go with the next one. Worm tub or condenser? It's Dalwhinnie.
It's a worm tub.
It is indeed a worm tub. One of the distilleries that they did rip out the worm tubs and put some condensers in there, and they didn't think the spirit was good, so they put it back. They put the worm tubs back in, and you can see them as you're driving up to the Highlands, up into the Cairngorms. You can see that as you go past on the A9, is it? You think it is A9 that runs through there?
I thought so.
Okay, worm tub or condenser? It's Glenord.
Another Diageo site, but is that a...
No.
Big site, Glenord.
I'm going to go with condenser.
It is a condenser, but they use slightly warmer water.
Too light as well.
Water in the condensers.
I'm trying to think. I'm going by taste of whiskey because I know the heavier is the condenser. No,
Yeah,
it's
you
the worms,
do.
I'm sorry.
Nerd,
So,
nerd,
I'm
nerd,
just
nerd,
going-
nerd, nerd,
All I know is they have light floral notes in their whiskey. It's delicious. That's what matters to me.
Yeah.
And you can get that from a worm tub as well. Anyway, so let's have a look at Speyburn.
I'm going to say worm tub. We haven't had one for a while.
Indeed, a worm tub, and you wouldn't have thought that because it's a very light and delicate spirit, but
Yeah.
it is a worm tub whiskey.
I like
so
how it comes in
speaking of-
reverse on my screen. Like what you've written out just comes in complete reverse. So I'm trying to read it backwards.
Is that just me? I thought I was just being slow.
Everything's in reverse.
Guys, you gotta-
It's kind of like just
I've written-
Oh yeah, I get you. Yeah.
The camera is working differently to Instagram, where I have to have it backwards. Okay.
Okay, that I'm so glad you said that, Simo,
Because I was
because
kind of just looking at.
I thought I'd drunk too much already.
I've only just managed to get it right for the Instagram live that we do, and everything has to be backwards on Instagram. But I didn't realise you were seeing it on backwards. How come we've gone through 7 questions and you only just mention it?
I don't know. Thought I was going. So I was like,
Questioning your own sanity, weren't you?
Yeah, a
Just
little
very
bit.
polite.
Yeah.
Worm tub or condenser. I'll get it round the right way.
oh,
Not true.
worm tub.
It is indeed. Yes, I've been to
Yeah, I
that one
know.
as well. Well done, Simo. And the last one today, I am going to turn it the right way this time.
Just getting the reload.
Worm tub quiz. Jan Ewan.
That's a tricky
Go
one. 'cause
condenser.
So I'm going. I thought I'm worm tub.
It is a condenser, but you're right. It is one of those meaty ones where they
Yeah, that's what I was yeah.
changed that distilling process, and they had some stainless. They went with stainless steel condensers for a little while, and made it dreadful. Oh, you're on the Doug Ewan as well. Lovely, lovely.
To this.
We're at the end of that,
Well, that was fun. Thanks, Dave.
Guys, can we do a picture for the gram?
and we can
Yeah,
have a
sure.
Picture for the gram. Yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
For the gram. We got to
Well,
keep it gram. Gram's the only way people know people exist nowadays.
Oh, especially now. But you know, it's funny. Before the lockdown, I was living vicariously through you, who were traveling around Southeast Asia, weren't you?
Yeah, it was one of those. I'm not big at like posting, but I just wanted to have one of those fuck you holidays. Like, you know. So just really wanted one of those. And I was like, you know what? I see it all the time. I just wanted a fuck you holiday. That was it. No, I mean, actually, to be fair, it's not as my missus, she does travel writing on the side. So she had to review 5 hotels, all 5-star, all for free. And so, yeah, got flights for Christmas. So, yeah, it was one of those ultimate walking around, you know, puffy chest, being bitten by fucking monkeys all the time. It's great. But it's
Yeah, our thoughts are with you at this difficult time. That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
And I wanted to share it with everybody.
Yeah,
That's the whole point of
nice.
Instagram.
But I mean, that relates, Dan, I don't know if your subscriptions have increased since the lockdown. You mentioned the festival going basically online, mail order. Simo has expanded his real bricks and mortar business into a delivery system that was probably headed there anyway, but just it sped it along, as you said. What I think eventually, aren't we going to get a bit of fatigue of this whiskey online and people watching a bunch of bearded glasses men speaking on a podcast or a live stream? What do you think? What experience is going to speak to people if this lockdown continues? What's do you think the magic ingredient other than the whiskey itself? You think that might?
I think it's to experience the drinking with it, because there's a lot of people that are coming out and just talking to a screen, and they're getting drunk and we're not, and that you need that audience participation, so you're actually feeling part of it. I think that's the key bit, that those that are doing it are going to win, and those that aren't, having people drinking with it, aren't, because we can watch 10, 15 live tastings a night, it seems like at the moment. But the ones that we can actually be part of and be tasting it whilst we're learning, I think that's going to be a big part of the winning side of it.
Yeah. So we thought about that as well, because it's like that. because we thrive off just consumer interaction. It's our whole business model. So we launched, we're sort of teetering around sort of next week, launching basically you pay like 20 quid and you get to basically do a live chat with me. You just get any whiskies you have in the back of your cupboard, no matter where you are, no matter what whiskies you've got. And then we'll just talk you through them and we'll have a drink for an hour. And that's basically it. So like if you turn around now and just said, all right, I've got McNair, I've got this, that, and the other, no matter what whiskies they are, we'll be like, yeah, cool. So that I'll tell you all about them. And then we'll just have a chat. That's it. It's
That's
almost
crazy.
Yeah,
that's a crazy concept that seems so obvious. It's fucked up. We haven't done it already. Like, why did it take COVID-19 for us to do something like that? That's a great idea.
We're sort of like, I don't know, it's, especially, you're in London or, major city, you're kind of, you're just buried in the meat grinder. And, your day to day, you live by your diary. I remember before this happened, my missus, if she wanted to go on a date, she had to send me a diary invite. I said, baby, you free here? I said, yeah. And I talked to Thea, who organised the diary. I said, Thea, can I go out with my missus on Thursday? She's like, what the fuck are you asking me for? When you're in central London, you're just working. Your life is work, and travelling and surrounded by foul. We work in the booze industry, so our days don't stop at 6. They stop at 10 p.m. in the evening. You're out drinking with people, chatting to people. I've been drunk enough times with you two guys at the bottom of my bar. So
yeah, it doesn't stop, does it? I mean, I must admit, I do live on social media 24/7 anyway. I live so I always tell people when I'm at a tasting, I live in the little village of Twitter, which is just in Bedfordshire, because I have lived my life on Twitter for the last, really, when I was back at Whiskey Discovery, it was all about talking to people. And I like Twitter because it is that interaction, that constant. And being deaf, typing and texting was just brilliant for me. And so going live has been a bit of a shit. I was asked to go live on Instagram a couple of weeks ago by brand manager Jen, said, can you do it? I don't really want to do it. I don't like doing it. I've got to do it. I've got to do it. And so I started by doing sort of whiskey in my porridge every morning and talking about, I did the 6 regions of Scotland in my porridge. Whiskey, starting in Speyside with the beautifully labelled Strathmill because it's got Goldilocks on the label, because it was a porridge oats distillery. And I'm getting used to it. And I thought, well, what's the big deal? I stand in front of people a tasting at a festival. You go into a hall with 50, 60 people and you're doing a boutique tasting. Is exactly the same. I'm just not getting that feedback. But
because you thrive. We all work face to face. So I live off the consumer's reactions. If I'm doing a tasting, like you, Dave, like in my shop or bar, you kind of gauge the audience, and there's a lot of banter back and forth. It's how neither of us here are robotic in the way we do tasting. It's not that marketing bullshit spiel that we all do. It's just fun back and forth. Colin Dunn's probably one of the best at it. He just sits and just chats to the people. And I do miss that. When I did that BTAC raffle the other day, it was weird trying to pull off jokes and just not realising, am I funny or am I a dickhead? It's hard. Go on.
Well, that connection will be missed, won't it? I mean, someone like Colin's a really great example. He spent the last 20 plus years being in front of groups of people who are hanging on his every word, laughing at his jokes, and having that immediate visceral response, that human, very, very organic thing that is a human primal thing, to be close with one another and share laughs and share drink and share food. We've lost that. Do you think that this is making up for it? Do you think we can do this virtually and not start losing our fucking minds?
I think you can in part, but it's a much smaller crowd. Because it's one of the things we had to really think about for our festival, the virtual festival, is that how do you have that interaction? Because if it's just people texting in or messaging on a chat, there is no interaction. So you need, like we've got here, I can see 3 faces and there is actually communication. And that's what we're doing with our festival. We've actually invited people in. So the brand manager has 3 people to talk to, because you need that jokiness and that back and forth. Otherwise, we are just essentially text messaging each other, and that you lose a lot of the, was it something 90% of your communication isn't via the words you say. If you take all of that out, how do you build a conversation and get to know someone and have fun? It's statements.
I did a tasting, say, earlier this week for an Australian market. So what they'd done, one of our distributors or retailers in Australia had sent out the people had ordered the kits, the boutique kits, the miniature sets. I did the tasting, and they couldn't react verbally during the tasting. Otherwise, it would just be completely out of control. 45, 50 people. But they were texting questions, and they had somebody monitoring and stopping it and saying, got a question from Mick here, or I've got a stick. And so then that was how it was working, that someone was reading and talking them out. But I think technology will evolve quickly during this phase, because all businesses must be doing the same sort of thing. That this sort of face-to-face interaction business that we are in doesn't just stop at drinks. I'm sure there's other businesses that thrive on this face-to-face interaction. So I think the technology will evolve quickly. That's what we will see.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It kind of needs to. I mean, asked me a month ago what the hell Zoom was.
Yes.
No idea. Now I live my life on Zoom pretty much, like chatting to people, friends, family, but yeah, you're right. The technology is, because I tried to do one, I did a conference thing yesterday via Zoom. There must have been about 20 people on this conference, and everyone sort of talking. It was very hard to kind of like go, yeah, because like us, it's easy. It's 4 of us, bit of banter, back and forth. It's all good. But try and do it with 20 people, on there. The guy moderator had to mute everybody.
Yeah.
And then just unmute sort of who he thought would relevantly answer the question,
Well, there's a whole new world of learning here, and we're all students again. We're all like kids, a 9-year-old at your parents' party goes, Daddy.
Yeah.
When it's their turn to speak, or in the middle of a school festival, or a presentation at a school, children don't know. We're all children now in this new digital age, and we're all learning. And I think there's been hardships, but I've seen some really beautiful things too. People coming together and being willing to fail and test and try to rise again from this fucked up. It's been happening.
I think that's the beauty thing about the hospitality industry, is there's this overwhelming sense of unity, in hospitality and like the booze world. Everyone's in it together, because let's face it, most of us work antisocial hours. We're surrounded by people who are drinking constantly, but we've got to have our heads on straight and all sorts. So I love what's come out of the hospitality industry, that everyone's sort of like on board. Everyone's helping each other out. What can I do? What can we do? Can we help you with deliveries? Can we do this? We've got a product we can help you with. So it's nice to see, in our world.
I hope so. Any closing words, Dan? I think I'm just conscious we got to jump off, wrap this up. Uncorked Whisky Sessions. Thank you so much for being here, Dan Humphreys and Martin Simpson.
No, give my government name.
Well, it's relevant because I'm Canadian and I know you've been banned from Canada, so I know you're
7-year statute of limitations. I'm allowed back this year, I think.
I look forward to joining you there. Any final words, guys, before we say goodnight?
Thank you for inviting me for some whiskey fun.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking time out this afternoon and coming to make our afternoon a lot more entertaining.
Guys, always a pleasure to chat to you. I can't wait to do it in real life again.
Me neither. I'm going stir crazy here. Dave and I are doing all the stuff online. # Uncorked Whisky Sessions. We're doing the afternoon tea, but I have to say it's nothing compared to just sitting down with a bartender, with a friend, and in a new space, in a place you've been a million times, with people you love or people you don't even know yet, but you will love. So miss you all, and I hope to see you soon.
Miss you all, man. Slan Javan.
Cheers.
Hey everybody, can you hear my voice?
Yes, a little loud, Sam.
Tough shit, you got no choice. So grab a glass and sit back in your chair, 'cause Uncorked is going live